Mirai is a boy who had an unfortunate childhood. His parents and younger sister were assassinated. He was adopted by his aunt and uncle and was continuously abused. Losing all faith and hope, Mirai decided to end his life. However, an angel flew down to help him. She gave him the hope to live and the ability to decide the life and death of a person. When that angel revealed that the ones who assassinated his parents were his aunt and uncle, Mirai went to them and took revenge. Then he was dragged into a game to choose the new god for Earth. This is Mirai. Today is his high school graduation day, and while everyone was blending their emotions together, some happy and some sad because they were about to part with the school, Mirai still sat silently in one place without any emotion. He stepped out of school, entered a convenience store, chose a cake for himself and stuffed it into his pocket. After that, Mirai went up a tall building and decided to throw himself down. In his heart, he only wanted to shout loudly that he just wanted to be happy. But instead of becoming a pile of squishy flesh mixed with heart, liver, and intestines, Mirai was saved by a girl in white. She introduced herself as an angel, but Mirai told her she didn't need to bother with other people's business and should just kill him. However, the angel said she came here to help him, because when he was falling he had said he wanted to be happy. The girl recounted Mirai's circumstances, that when he was 7 years old his whole family had died, and his suffering began when he was adopted by his aunt and uncle. Without family or friends, he lost hope to live and chose the path of ending his life. And the girl angel appeared to grant Mirai new hope. She would give him 2 things of hope. The first was freedom and love. However, Mirai now did not believe in anything anymore and only wanted to die quickly. At this moment, the girl angel gave him 2 rings. The necklace would sprout wings that brought freedom, while the bracelet would shoot out an arrow of love that, if it struck someone, that person would fall madly in love with Mirai. No one would see it and only other angels could see it. Furthermore, it could not be removed. After that, ignoring Mirai's words, the girl angel told him to try using the angel wings. With just 2 incantations from behind, Mirai sprouted a pair of very large wings. He soared up into the sky, through the layers of clouds, and when he passed through them he saw a beautiful sunset. Mirai continued flying until night. He reached out and touched the water surface, then suddenly shed tears. Perhaps this was the feeling of being free. After that, Mirai flew everywhere with the wings. He suddenly saw a 4-leaf clover on a flag, then remembered a promise with his childhood friend. After that, Mirai stopped at a shrine and the girl angel appeared again. The 2 talked with each other. Now he could do anything, for example obtaining love or wealth, or even more, to take revenge for his parents. At this time, the girl angel revealed that it was his uncle and aunt who had killed his family. Mirai seemed unable to believe his ears. All this time he had endured abuse from that family because he thought he owed them. Now the shocking truth came when he knew they were the ones who destroyed his family's happiness. The girl angel said if he wanted to verify, then just use the arrow of love. Immediately after that, he returned to find his aunt. Without saying a word, he shot the arrow directly at her. When she was infatuated with him, Mirai asked about the truth of his family's death. She then said that his uncle was the mastermind, because his father, her older brother, had a huge fortune, and the greedy uncle plotted to kill Mirai's father so that she would inherit all the wealth. After saying that, the 2 lunged at each other, while Mirai just stood there remembering the scene of his parents and younger sister being blown to pieces in the car. He asked why they let him live. In pain and despair, he lamented that they were the ones who should have died, not his parents. Hearing that, the aunt immediately used a knife to end her life. While Mirai was still bewildered, the girl angel explained that because the arrow would make people love him deeply, to the point they would do whatever he said. So her dying, according to his words, was normal. After that, an angel appeared and took the aunt's soul away. While Mirai was still not over the shock because the death was truly too easy. He remembered his mother's words when he was little, that she had told him, "People are born to pursue happiness." That was her faith, live to bring happiness to others. Mirai began screaming, realizing that wanting to end his life was truly meaningless. Then afterward, Mirai promised himself that he must find happiness for himself and also for the part of his family. The little angel responded to his wish and promised she would help. She introduced herself as Nas, his very own angel. 3 days later, the 2 of them hid in a hotel. The matter of his aunt was considered suicide, so it had nothing to do with him. Then the 2 discussed what they needed to do to be happy. But whatever they did, he still needed money to live. Nas suggested they go back to deal with his uncle. After all, that was still his parents' money. She explained that besides the red arrow in the bracelet, there was also the white arrow. This one would kill a person instantly. This was what angels used to let those who were about to die pass away peacefully. At this point, Nas explained to him that at present there were 13 candidates for the position of successor god existing on Earth, and each one had their own angel. They would compete against each other to become god. Only now did Murray realize that the simple happiness he wanted was not so easy to obtain. Murray hesitated because he himself could not even take care of his own worries, let alone become God. But Nas persuaded him that if he became God he would find his own happiness. Thinking of those 3 words, Murray once again remembered his mother's words. Murray, remember, you will not find happiness if those around you are not happy. And unless everyone is truly happy, you will not be able to enjoy your own happiness. Listening to his mother's words, Murray chose to help those who were more unfortunate. And he did not want to become God. He just wanted to help many people. First was dealing with his uncle. Afterward, while eating, Murray watched television and there was an interview about an actor named Tanma. This man was very popular because he was dating 5 people at once. Through the TV screen, Murray knew this man was also a candidate because he had an angel following him. Nas further explained that the red arrow had an effect on a maximum of 14 people. And to avoid other innocent people being dragged in by that scum, Murray began to think of a way to deal with him. Nas said that the red arrow only had an effect for 33 days, and one person could only be shot once. Tanma had abused the arrow to force women. Murray believed that such a degenerate could not be God. But before Murray could act, someone else did it first. While Tanma was indulging in pleasure, a superhero appeared. This person then used the white arrow and killed the scum in one strike. After collecting his wings and arrows, this person left. The girls who were enchanted also returned to normal. The next day, while Murray had just finished registering for high school, he saw the news that Tanma had died. Afterward, he used the red arrow to shoot his uncle, causing him to turn himself in for all his crimes. Not long after Murray passed the entrance exam into the school he wanted, his life still went on as usual. While he was walking around the city with Nas, on the news there was a bank robbery. According to the reporter, the robbers were pressuring the police to give them a car to escape. Right at this moment, the superhero from before appeared again. He introduced himself as Metro. After that, he used the red arrow to shoot the security forces to calm them down so they would not act recklessly. Then Metro walked to the robber, used the red arrow to subdue him, and advised him to turn back. However, from inside another robber appeared and shot at Metro. He instantly flashed to dodge, making that robber take the bullet and die. Without hesitation, he then used the white arrow to kill the robber, successfully resolving the case. Then he stood before the camera and declared war on the remaining 11 candidates. Feeling the danger, Murray told Nas to hide so both of them would not be discovered. His normal life was gradually being threatened. Returning to the apartment he had just bought, Murray begged Nas to strip him of his candidate position. He did not want to die anymore. But she regretted that even if he did that, he would still die. She said those who were chosen as candidates had met one of 3 criteria. First was wanting to die, second was hating the world, and third was those who wanted to change it. Unable to do anything, Murray learned to accept the present. Nas explained there were 3 types of angels. Special rank angels could use both white and red arrows. Lower rank could only use red arrows, while mid-rank could use either wings or red arrows. Among the 13 candidates there were 3 special rank. They could still be promoted or demoted. Murray began to calculate how to deal with Metro. The next day, Murray dressed up to prepare for the school opening ceremony. He left Nas at home to avoid being discovered. However, unfortunately at school, there was an angel flying imposingly. This proved there was a candidate in this school. Before he could think of a way, that angel had already rushed at him. The man said he was too weak for letting emotions show when sweat dripped on his face too much. Murray probed, asking who was the candidate in this school. He pointed behind him where there was a girl. Then, to his surprise, that girl shot a red arrow straight into him. His mind began to blur, and he confessed love to the girl in front, though still retaining reason. That girl named Saki asked to see what rank of angel he had. Though not wanting to speak, he blurted out that he was special rank because he had both white and red arrows and also wings. Then afterward, he obeyed Saki's words and flew to her room to sit and wait. After she returned, her angel told her to extract information from Murray. After confirming he was not Metro, that angel wanted Murray to be Saki's guardian, since she was mid-rank and only had red arrows, and to avoid being shot by arrows from other candidates they needed wings. Saki didn't have them, so this angel needed Murray to protect her. Since still under the control of the red arrow, Murray agreed to everything. Then he created a link for the two, and afterward let Murray carry Saki flying around once to get used to it. And when in the sky, it was revealed the two had been childhood friends. Murray promised to help her so she could smile like before. After returning, Revel, Saki's angel, said Metro had caught a criminal and was preparing for a public execution tonight. Revel explained further about the god who would be chosen, through the personality, actions, and words of the candidates. But Metro was going against all of that. He chose the path of blood to become the new god. However, the fact he was winning people's hearts clearly meant he had some scheme. And still under the Red Arrow's influence, Murray volunteered to meet Metro to confront him to prevent him from harming Saki. Just as he was about to act rashly, Nas arrived. She explained if he died his special rank would be transferred to Saki, and Revel was aiming for that to promote Saki. Seeing his plan exposed, he gave up. Afterward, Saki also stopped him. Then Nas spoke up, proposing cooperation with Revel, because even without the Red Arrow, Murray had already secretly liked Saki for a long time. Afterward, Revel suggested Murray live at Saki's house to conveniently protect her. He of course had no objection, and neither did she. Thus a month passed. Metro still acted chivalrously as always. When returning home, it was revealed he was a wealthy young master. He was frustrated because for a whole month, no candidate had come to him. He asked his angel if she had any method, and she suggested something. Meanwhile, Murray, after 1 month, though no longer under the Red Arrow's effect, still clung to Saki. He promised to protect her, because seeing her happy was his happiness. Then afterward on TV came news. Metroman no longer had the intention of declaring war, but wanted to express willingness to cooperate with the other 11 candidates as allies, something that clearly sounded like a trap. Metro invited everyone to meet at a stadium. Though knowing it was a trap, Murray still wanted to go. At least he needed to determine who their enemies were. Not long after Murray and Saki arrived at the stadium where many people had gathered, Murray observed there were 3 angels here. Soon after, everyone counted down and Metro appeared. Then following that, 2 more Metros appeared. Without saying a word, they immediately attacked Metro, but the Red Arrows could not touch him. The reason explained by Nas and Revel at home was that Metro had been shot by another candidate with a Red Arrow, and a candidate who has been shot will not be affected by the Red Arrow of another candidate for the next 33 days, so it was deduced that the person standing over there was not the real Metro. Blue Metro and Yellow Metro immediately became cautious. But the Metro standing below explained the reason why the 2 of them could not use the Red Arrow on him was because he had not revealed his face. One must reveal the face in order to use it, and each use had a 2-second cooldown, with a maximum range of 31.6 meters. At that moment, the real Metro appeared on the big screen, and he said that the one below was just bait to lure the 2 of them out. He confirmed that the explanation about their techniques just now was correct. However, they forgot one thing, that a special rank could use both the red and white arrows at the same time, so his cooldown time was only 0.3 seconds. After saying that, he left. Angered, Blue Metro and Yellow Metro intended to capture the one being controlled to interrogate for information. Right then, another candidate appeared wanting to join them both to fight against Metro. They agreed on the condition that the girl must be struck by a red arrow. However, Metro was quicker, as he rushed in and pierced her with the red arrow, turning it into a 2 versus 2 battle. He reminded the 2 to be smarter if they didn't want to be killed by him in an instant, and after saying that, Metro disappeared again. In response to Metro's warning, Blue shouted out, calling for the candidates still mixed in the audience to come out and help the 2 of them. They knew that none of the candidates wanted that Metro to become the new god, so they needed help. Murray knew that the more they gathered, the stronger they would become, but he still chose not to reveal himself. At that time, 2 more Metros, green and pink, stepped out and asked to join. They had no wings, only arrows, so they also agreed to let Blue shoot a red arrow into them. After they finished, Metro appeared again, switching positions with the fake so quickly that the 4 did not notice, and within 1 second, the girl being controlled by Metro appeared on the screen. Metro immediately fired 2 arrows at once, killing Blue and controlling Yellow, and it was revealed that green and pink were also just his pawns. The reason the arrows did not bounce off those 2 was simply because he used money to hire them. Metro then took Blue's ring and wings, and Blue's soul was sent away. He then bound Yellow and the girl from earlier together, and before the terrified girl's eyes, Metro mercilessly killed Yellow, then turned his arrow toward the girl. Even though she was being controlled, instinctive fear made her try to break free. Even her angel appeared, begging someone to save her candidate. Just as Murray was about to act, Nas appeared to stop him, saying that now was not the time. Then Metro mercilessly killed the girl. Nas then came to talk to Metro. She said that the girl's death did not make her feel anything because that was not her candidate, but his death would. Nas then sent him a challenge, saying that her candidate would kill him, because that was the only path leading to happiness. After saying that, Nas left, and Murray and Saki also left together with the crowd. The number of remaining candidates was 8. When they returned home, they had all lost their spirit. Deep inside, Murray really wanted to kill him, but he could not. He recalled a conversation with his father. The 2 of them talked about his mother's faith and how to preserve happiness forever. His father told him to remind himself and warned his son that the worst thing in humans was envy toward others, so he must not do that. It was that selfishness in humans that caused wars. If envy could be prevented, then there would be no wars, and humans could approach the eternal happiness that his mother spoke of. Returning to the present, Saki suggested they should find more allies. She was sure that the other candidates had seen Metro's brutality, so now they only needed to find those who disliked him. Right at that time, a candidate came to Saki's house. Murray immediately became wary, so the man asked Murray to shoot him to prove that he was not controlled by Metro. When he was about to do so, Na stopped him because she sensed that this man was telling the truth. They sat down and talked. The man said he did not have much time left because he only had 3 months to live due to cancer. While he was lying on the bed writhing in pain, an angel appeared and granted him the hope to live, telling him that he would survive if he became a god, and that all illnesses would vanish. Looking at the photo of his wife and children, he decided to join the game. However, when he saw the scene where Metro killed people so ruthlessly, he realized that he could not defeat him, so he wanted to cooperate with Murray and Saki. The uncle also revealed that the duration of the battle would be 999 days, and since he knew he himself could not become the new god, he used a red arrow to force a billionaire to give him money so he could arrange a better life for his wife and children. He did everything so his family could have a more peaceful future. But looking at Metro, if he became god, surely everything would not turn out well. So the uncle thought of a way to stop him by gathering the candidates together and finding the one suitable to become the new god. By using 14 red arrows on 14 private detectives and placing them undercover all around the stadium to identify candidates blending in, the uncle found 2 of them, both suitable to become god. However, both Murray and Saki did not want to become the new god. But Murray still agreed to help the uncle under one condition: that he would continue cancer treatment. The uncle did not think about his own feelings, but his family did, so upon hearing this, the uncle agreed. Meanwhile, Metro had already obtained 3 red arrows, 1 white arrow, and 3 pairs of wings, and he began preparing his next plan. Back at Saki's house, the uncle introduced his angel, Barrett, and revealed his name was Mikado, a fashion designer. He had drawn several designs to help them hide their identities. After speaking, he left, telling them that if he did not return, it meant he was dead and they should not look for him. The next day, at a royal academy, Kanade Akametro had just finished class when his friend invited him to go watch girls. As they observed, they discussed what they would wish for if they had a wish. His friend wished that guys more handsome than him would disappear and that all ugly girls would vanish too. Kanade disagreed, since that would include him as well. Then the friend asked what his wish would be. Kanade said he would make a wish opposite to the laws of life, to bring the dead back. The 2 of them kept talking without realizing that the underclassmen had already finished archery practice. Kanade jumped out onto the range and measured the reach of the arrow 31.6 meters, but if one arrow overlapped another, it would be 60 meters, and with 3 arrows, 90 meters, which was the perfect distance. After school, Kanade bought a bouquet of flowers and returned home to celebrate a birthday with his frozen body. Back at Murray's place, Mikado had tracked down another candidate, but the boy ran away when he approached, leaving only 4 unidentified people remaining. At that very moment, the news reported a killer who had murdered 3 little girls and left a challenge note. Mikado thought they needed to pay attention to this one. Soon after, the suspect's photo was revealed on the news. She was identified as a former amateur model who had quit midway. According to surveillance footage, she entered a convenience store with a girl and suddenly vanished. Mikado suspected she was a candidate, or that Metro might have given her wings or an arrow. And indeed, she was now toying with a schoolgirl, enjoying herself when Metro appeared, telling her to hurry and finish her job before continuing the kidnapping. After saying this, he left, while the female assassin pulled out a knife and began her work. Back with Murray's group, they had compiled information on Metro. He possessed 3 pairs of wings and 4 arrows, and he was able to share them with others. The condition for sharing was shooting someone with an arrow. Thus, the female assassin could freely kill people for the next 33 days. Mikado thought this could be a trap to lure out the other candidates, and that if they did not stop the killer, nothing would happen. But letting her run rampant like this was also not an option. He proposed the plan that the assassin was merely bait, and while they attacked her, Metro would likely appear, at which point they could concentrate all their power to attack him. The one to carry out that role was Murray. However, he did not want to kill, believing that just using the red arrow would be enough. However, Revel warned that if someone shot a red arrow at Murray, everything would be over, because if Metro had already considered the possibility of being manipulated and prepared another person besides the female murderer who also possessed a red arrow, then Murray's life would be finished. Even so, Mirai was still afraid of the feeling of having to kill someone. At this moment, Mirai uttered the dumbest line in anime history, saying he would rather be bullied than bully someone, and would rather be killed than kill someone, the ultimate level of weakness. Hearing that, Mikado didn't know whether to bow to Mirai or to Buddha at the temple. He also pointed out that this was cowardice, not faith, and set up a situation. If Metro was about to kill Saki, what arrow would Mirai shoot him with? And even if Mirai saw Saki being killed, he still chose the red arrow, which was hopeless. How could anyone love this guy anymore? Seeing Mirai's unstable mentality, Mikado temporarily ended the meeting, saying they would continue tomorrow. Meanwhile, Kanade was letting the female murderer kill every ugly girl in the world, exactly as his friend wished. The next day, news reported another victim of the female murderer, and based on the location where the woman went missing in Shibuya, Mikado guessed the position of the killer. He then went to meet Mirai and Saki, bringing along 2 bags that contained guns, weapons to use instead of the white arrows to fight for justice. Mirai again hesitated when holding a gun, but Mikado bluntly said he didn't care what Mirai thought. As long as it was something that could protect his family, he would do anything, and Mirai's so-called faith in life would not stop the female murderer from killing. He then laid out a plan to capture the killer. At that time, she had just killed another schoolgirl and went outside to find more victims. She threw the victim's body from a tower to attract attention. When the police went to investigate, she used the red arrow on them, ordering them to dispose of the corpse, though one officer still tried to resist the temptation. Mikado, however, knew clearly that the female murderer was just bait to lure candidates out, so that Metro could kill them. So he created a plan to lure him out and attack. He couldn't use the red arrow anymore since he already reached the maximum of 14 people at the stadium. Barrett also explained that if he shot a red arrow at B and then ordered B to shoot an arrow back at A, the second red arrow would still take effect and reverse the roles. That was their method to attack Metro. Then Mikado and Mirai prepared themselves. Barrett and Naz went with them, while Revel and Saki stayed behind to guard. Before leaving, Mikado told Mirai to be wiser if he didn't want to lose his loved ones, and that he would kill the murderer if Metro did not appear, because if she escaped, there would be more victims. Both of them then departed. Mikado confronted the woman while Mirai waited for an opportunity. To Mirai's horror, the entire tower exploded. Mikado was blasted outside, but was caught by Mirai. Luckily, his suit still protected him well. He told Mirai that killing was not good, but warned him not to be soft-hearted because the real battle was just beginning, as Metro appeared right behind them. The main character continued preaching about how killing was wrong, but Metro didn't like to hear that. To him, sacrificing a few to protect the many was natural. Murray shouted that he could never understand the feeling of losing a loved one, but sadly, Metro understood that better than anyone, because his beloved younger sister had died. Realizing that words were useless, Murray and Mikado tried to restrain Metro. Even though it was 2 against 1, Metro did not falter. He summoned his special rank angel, Mesa. Barrett and Naz also appeared to support, but before the battle started, Metro revealed he had planted bombs in many other places. If they didn't stop him, the bombs would explode, killing more people. To prevent that, Mikado proposed that only one of them should die in this battle. Metro agreed and wanted to take Mikado's wings and arrow. Thus, Mikado stepped forward, allowing Metro to execute him. At that moment, Murray had the chance to shoot Metro, but instead chose to destroy Metro's white arrow to save Mikado. He then rushed at him, and the two clashed at high speed. Metro continuously toyed with Murray using his white arrows, while Murray, like a starving beast, was desperate to pin a red arrow into him. The clash of their arrows created dark zones in the air. And while Metro was still in his excitement, Uncle Mikado launched an attack from behind. He continuously fired bullets at the armor, causing Metro to slow down. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Murray rushed in to stab him, but in a brief moment he saw Metro's face. He hesitated and let him escape. The two then returned to Saki's house. His body was still trembling. All this time he had always endured violence. That was not strength but his weakness. He was a coward who did not dare to resist. He did not want to kill, but Metro had pushed him to that limit. He did not know what to do anymore. Just then, Nas appeared. She said he must fight so that everyone could be happy. However, Murray was still afraid of this killing where people had to hurt each other. Uncle Mikado gave him a break today so he could calm down, and tomorrow they would discuss again about the fact that he had seen Metro's face. And in the following days, Murray, like a pervert, kept clinging to Saki. Meanwhile, Uncle Mikado heard Revel tell why Saki was chosen. He said he found her when she wanted to go to the sea to end her life. and Kanade's close friend secretly realized who he was because yesterday he had watched the battle live and saw Metro injured, and today Kanade was also injured. Back at Saki's house, Uncle Mukado only got a little information before pausing since the two young ones had not yet regained their spirits. That night when Mirai was lying down to sleep, Saki approached and said she needed to talk and invited him to come lie on the bed with her. Revel was a bit worried because anyway Mirai didn't look trustworthy. But Saki told him to leave for a while so the two could talk. Naz hearing that immediately dragged him away. Then Mirai also lay on the bed with Saki. After a brief silence and tension between the two, Saki spoke first. She said she wanted to die. She said even though the two were friends she couldn't do anything to help him in this battle. She just sat there and watched him protect. She told about when they were little the two used to play together. When Mirai found a 4-leaf clover, Saki also wanted to find one, but she couldn't find it no matter how much she searched. So he gave it to her. The 4-leaf clover symbolized luck and happiness. Back then happiness was just that simple. Then Saki confessed that she had joined in bullying him in the past. She had followed her friends to mock him. Thinking about it made her very regretful. So when graduating junior high, when she saw him walking alone, she ran after to apologize and return the 4-leaf clover. However, what she saw was him jumping down from a high floor. Too shocked and remorseful, thinking this was because of her, Saki also decided to end her life to atone. And at that moment Revel appeared saying that Mirai was still alive. When the two became teammates, Mirai did not treat her as before, but was even kinder to her. This only made her guilt heavier, so she wanted Mirai to kill her. He said nothing. Facing Saki's plea to die, Mirai brought her outside. Then he let her fall freely to make her struggle herself whether she wanted to live or die. When he released her hand, Saki tried to hold on to Mirai's hand. She truly still wanted to live. She still wanted to fight alongside him and Uncle Mukado. At this moment Mirai finally spoke. He said he never hated or resented her. He even invited her that when everything ended they would go find a 4-leaf clover together. Mirai's words were like scissors cutting away all the burden Saki had carried in her heart all this time. And now she could smile. The next day Uncle Mukado brought some information he had found through the description of appearance Mirai told yesterday. Saki was also more enthusiastic and suggested he should search more about private hospitals to see if there was anyone with such traits. She also proposed finding a new base. Saki chose a church. Uncle Mukado found it reasonable, so he said he would handle it. Besides, he also designed an outfit for Saki. She thanked him, then looked up at Barrett asking if she knew any way to give her wings, because she wanted to protect herself. The angel said the only way was to take them from candidates who had died. The second way was sharing like Metro did with his assassin. The third way was being handed down from a candidate who died of illness or accident. Uncle Mukado would do that. He kept a gun by his side. If Metro was about to kill him, then he would end his life so Barrett could give the wings to Saki. But she rejected that extreme way. She wanted Uncle to live and together with her and Mirai defeat Metro. This change and decisiveness made Uncle Mukado quite surprised. At this moment Revel suggested another better way, which was to help him advance the angel's rank. Barrett said she would help him. She would exchange her rank so that he could be promoted to special rank. After everything was settled, Mukado went home to play with his daughter. The little girl was very excited when she heard that her father had prepared a costume for her upcoming piano performance. Mukado said he was also looking forward to it. After playing with his daughter, Uncle went back to his room. He had even prepared a wedding dress for his daughter, in case he could not live until that day. The next day, at the private detective's office, there was a candidate who came to the detectives that Mukado was controlling. He used a knife to dig out information about who it was. While Murray's group had gone to their new base church, the angels were now able to freely fly around. Uncle Mukado also gave Saki a new costume for her to try on, while Revel had to prepare for the promotion. After Saki finished changing clothes and came out, she looked like a golden cat. Mukado had designed for her an outfit suitable for her to fight in ambush style. At this moment, one of Uncle's red arrows suddenly returned, which meant one of the detectives had died. Feeling uneasy, Mukado called Mirai to gear up and follow him. And indeed, the thing he least wanted happened. The candidate had found out Uncle's house. Mukado told Mirai to deal with him while he went into the house to find his wife and daughter, but they were nowhere to be seen. The wedding dress had been cut up. Uncle panicked and screamed. While Mirai was confronting the candidate, this guy did not use an arrow but a sword. However, he did not fight with him but left. He went to an abandoned amusement park where he had taken Uncle Mukado's wife and daughter hostage. The story then shifted a bit to this man's past. Soko, from birth, had an ugly face. Growing up, he got the combo of poor plus ugly. He became the target of bullying. This went on throughout his school years. One time on the way home from school, he saw his mother trying to fly without wings. Too desperate, he also thought of following his mother. But then a low-rank angel appeared. He said he would grant him power and asked if he wanted to change the world. Of course he did not refuse. The first thing he did was use the red arrow on the girl he liked. But when he kissed the girl, he felt disgusted with himself for being so ugly. To help him, the angel told him about Metro. He gave Soko the motivation to change. Later Soko had plastic surgery and began training. And one day he made girls look up to him without using the red arrow. Even so, he still did not know how to start a conversation with girls. One time Soko was watching live the battle between Metro with Mikado and Murray. He saw that Metro being cornered was unacceptable, so he decided to help Metro. Even though the angel told him he would be killed, Soko ignored it and wanted to see the chaotic world that Metro would create after becoming the new god. Soko began gathering information to find Metro, starting with doctors from private hospitals. He obtained a piece of information that not long ago a rich young master came and asked the doctors to find a way to keep his sister's body always beautiful and full of vitality. Soko continued searching for Metro's DNA information through fragments left after battles, and soon found the school Kanade was attending. Soko controlled a girl to deliver the message to him, and then arranged a meeting at the school gym. After hearing the information, Kanade killed the girl right in front of his friend. Then he controlled a person disguised as himself to go meet Soko. He himself did not show up but called Kanade on video and expressed his wish to become his subordinate. After some thought, Kanade agreed with the condition that he must lure Mikado into a trap, and now he had done it. He had used 13 red arrows and saved one for battle. While Uncle Mikado was in great sorrow and unable to think, Barrett brought him back to his senses. Right at this moment, Kanade called him to tell him the location of his wife and daughter. Immediately Uncle and Murray set off, while Saki stayed behind since Revel had not yet been promoted. Once again, being left behind made Saki feel very useless. Seeing that, Revel returned to the concentration room to ascend as fast as possible. Meanwhile, Uncle Mikado, after arriving at the abandoned amusement park, together with Murray, saw Soko, who had locked his wife and child inside a one-way glass house. Without any hesitation, he immediately rushed in to save his family. And so Soko's plan was complete. When he was about to shoot a red arrow at Mikado's wife, Murray pulled out his white arrow to threaten him, charging forward and forcing Soko to fly away. Murray then switched to the red arrow and defended while Uncle Mikado tried to find a way out of the glass house. Guns had no effect, so he had to come up with another method. Meanwhile, Kanade had Soko move according to his commands. By afternoon, Metro and Soko appeared, creating a pincer position on Murray. To avoid being surrounded, Murray decided to retreat inside the glass house, and together with Uncle Mikado's family went deeper inside. Outside, Soko could not understand why Mikado acted so recklessly, but Kanade explained that it was because of love. He loved his family so much that he would risk everything. Hearing this, Soko's emotions fell into turmoil, because love was the very thing he desired most. Feeling it was a waste of time, Metro left Soko to guard while he returned to prepare something else. Inside the glass house, Mikado and Murray kept moving while discussing a plan. Knowing that Kanade outside might eavesdrop, Murray pretended to say his plan out loud, and then the two rushed outside. However, even though Kanade sensed no movement, he did not see anyone fly out. He guessed Murray was simply pausing his movements to trick him. Soko continued to keep watch until nightfall, but there was no activity. He guarded for 2 more days. Even though Nas and Barrett had already left, he still believed the two were inside. Kanade, tired, told Soko to continue keeping watch so he could rest. Meanwhile, Revel was about to begin the ascension process. The current god acknowledged his efforts and immediately promoted Revel to special rank. At once, Saki appeared at the amusement park. Barrett explained the current situation. Mikado and Murray were at their limit and could no longer fly. Soko's angel came to congratulate Revel on his promotion and pointed to Saki, saying she was the key to helping them now. While Soko was keeping watch, Saki shot a red arrow into him, making him immediately infatuated with her. Although he still held loyalty to Metro, his heart blinded his reason. She then lured him away from his guard post. Not wanting to disappoint his idol, he asked Metro for permission to go to the bathroom, then quickly slipped away. He flew straight to Saki, and with sparkling eyes she begged Soko to help her rescue Mikado and Murray. Unable to resist her charm, Soko immediately began frantically smashing the glass from the outside. Revel contacted them inside, telling the two to get ready. Kanade called out for Soko to stop and invited him to serve under him, but this time Soko refused. He had been moved not only by Saki, but also by Mikado, who showed him what true family love was. He understood this through Saki, and now he would do anything for her. The words of those who scorned life no longer meant anything to him. Just as Soko cracked the glass, Metro arrived together with 3 other candidates. Soko stood in front of Saki to shield her, while Mikado and Mirai escaped through the crack Soko made. This battle would now be 4 versus 4. However, Revel stepped forward to negotiate, knowing Metro would not fight unless he gained the advantage, and also because Mikado was reaching his limit. Surprisingly, Metro agreed. Afterwards, Saki brought Uncle Mikado's wife back to the church, then returned to the amusement park. She came to take his child away, and before leaving, she told Mirai Revel's words. Once the team was fully assembled, Saki ordered Soko to kill Metro. Then she, Uncle Mikado, and Mirai shot red arrows into each other to prevent being controlled. Soko charged ahead to face the bald man with guns. That man shot while boasting about his weapons, but Soko dodged easily because to him everything looked like a slow-motion film. Even so, Soko could not land a cut, since the bald man was also too fast. The bald man flew up high and used rockets, blasting Soko straight into the wall. Thought it was over, but suddenly Mirai and Saki appeared from behind, ambushing and locking the bald man's wings before dragging him down to the ground, where Soko was already waiting. With one slash, he cut off the bald man's head. The battle became 4 versus 3. Furious, Metro sent the Mad Doctor into the fight. This woman loved to play with poison. The moment she appeared, she showed Mirai's group a deadly virus. She took out a mouse, let it inhale once, and within seconds it exploded. The doctor believed that if this much were released, countless innocent people would die. There were 2 ways to trigger it. One was this button, and the other was a button inside her heart. However, she said if someone volunteered to be her test subject and take in all the virus, then no one else had to die. Without hesitation, Metro pointed straight at Murray and told him he had to be the hostage. With no choice, Mirai had to descend and face the doctor. She then ordered Mikado and Soko to drop their weapons. Next, Murray slowly walked toward her. Saki didn't want him to die and screamed non-stop, but Soko reassured her. In this moment of life and death, everyone racked their brains to find a way to save Murray without letting the madwoman press the button. When Murray was about to be injected, he suddenly spread his wings. Seeing this, she immediately released the virus, but Murray pierced it with a white arrow, destroying it. Barrett explained that since most of the cells were collected from human bodies, the arrow could kill it, and because the arrow pierced the vial, the virus couldn't escape. Mikado urged Mirai to kill her, as he couldn't be sure whether she still had more virus. Besides, the red arrow couldn't be used because Metro had already used one on her. Mirai hesitated again, recalling his father and mother's words, caught in inner conflict. Mikado, exhausted, collapsed to the ground, yet still pointed his gun toward Metro. Not wanting to let a weakling like Mirai hesitate forever, Metro fired a white arrow at him. The doctor also followed his order and hurled the syringe at Mirai. At this moment, the anime seemed like it needed to change its main character, since Mirai was so useless. However, Saki shouted no and rushed to protect him. Murray barely managed to deflect Metro's white arrow, but the syringe was still flying at him. Soko appeared, cutting through 2 of the syringes, but he missed the last one. He used his own body to shield Saki. Before dying, he still managed to hurl his katana, killing the doctor. Even as his body melted away, Soko asked Saki if she was hurt. In the end, he felt happy to have been born and to have met her. Moments later, the angels of Soko and the doctor appeared to take their souls away. Saki received Soko's bracelet. Metro, disgusted with this farce, criticized Mirai, saying it was his weakness that caused Soko's death. If Mirai hadn't been such a fool and had acted more decisively, Soko wouldn't have died. The anime's main character spoke up. Murray said he was sad because Soko died, but no matter who died, he would still be sad. That was why he had to continue living. Killing was wrong. Metro found this too sappy and immediately shot a white arrow at Mikado. Murray rushed to catch him. By now, Mikado was barely breathing. Murray handed him to Saki to take care of. Metro called his last companion to fight, but the boy had been trembling like a leaf all along and ran away. Now it was a one-on-one battle between Kanade and Murray. The 2 exchanged words, one fighting for ideals, the other for personal happiness. Metro demanded a set of rules for the duel to prevent cheating, and allowed Murray to set them. After some thought, Murray proposed that both stop flying and take turns shooting arrows at each other. Metro added, one shoots, the other dodges, turn by turn, and with each miss they must take a step closer. Agreeing, both landed to face each other. Metro flipped a coin to decide who went first, but suddenly launched an attack. Luckily, Murray blocked with a red arrow. The 2 advanced closer. Murray fired an arrow, Metro deflected it, and both stepped forward again. In Metro's arrogant declaration that he would win and Mirai would lose, we were shown Kanade's past. Once, he had a very beautiful younger sister. Kanade saw her as the embodiment of perfection, so he cherished and protected her, doing everything for her. But then, an incident occurred. One day, when his younger sister said that she liked a boy in her class, this shocked Kanade greatly. He was afraid that his sister would be tainted by worldly things, and then Kanade revealed his distorted overprotective nature toward his sister. While she, for the first time, saw her brother as frightening, she hurriedly tried to run away, but Kanade held her back. The two struggled, and in the scuffle the sister stumbled and hit her head against the corner of a wall and died instantly. Kanade panicked greatly at his sister's death. But then in his mind he thought that as long as he kept her in this state, she would remain beautiful forever. So Kanade held a fake funeral and secretly sealed her corpse to preserve her beauty. However, he gradually realized that beauty alone was not enough. He wanted his sister to live again. In his despair, Kanade considered committing suicide so he could be with her. And then his angel appeared. She told him there was a way to bring his sister back to life. That was to become God and turn the one he loved into an angel. After recalling this, Metro shot an arrow toward Mirai, and he once again successfully blocked it. At this time, the battle between the two had already been broadcast live for the people to watch. The distance between them was now 20 meters. The fight would come down only to reflexes. Metro continued to ramble about how he deserved to be the new god, that he was the chosen one, that using this power was one of the options. Then it was Mirai's turn. Because the range was close, the force of the shot was strong enough to push Metro back slightly before he swatted the arrow away. The distance between them closed again. This time it was down purely to reflexes to see who was faster. Mirai was rather flustered because he did not know if he could block in time. At this moment, Saki spoke up. She proposed that she would concede and let Metro become god if he stopped the battle here. But Mirai was the first to oppose. He said that Metro had killed too many innocent people. He would not become god without paying the price. However, Metro insisted that those he killed deserved it, because they were the dregs of society. He believed he was right, that he was supreme and stood above all others, that when he became god he would put his ideology into reality. He would change this world, eliminate disparity, erase poverty and inequality, and create a society where everyone lived in luxury. This was no longer a battle for God but politics, as every word Metro spoke was being received by the people. Metro further declared that he would eliminate those parasites living off tax money, that the gap between rich and poor would vanish once the poor were exterminated. Now the so-called equality he preached had turned into class discrimination. Metro claimed that humanity was no different from crabs in a bucket. When one climbs up, another drags it down. Those born into wealthy families could find physical and emotional satisfaction. The beautiful produced more beautiful people. The ugly pigs produced more ugliness. He loathed the world where the beautiful had to share the same air with those pigs. Then Kanade said that a friend once told him if granted a wish he would wish for all the ugly people to disappear. And that equality Metro spoke of. If the rich were ugly, he would kill them too. The goal was to create a world only of beautiful people, and where everyone was rich, while beautiful but poor ones would be made slaves. After listening to his rambling, Mirai had already gotten within 5 meters of him. At this range, blocking was impossible. Only running was left, which was as good as losing. However, at this moment Mirai questioned whether the Metro before him was the real one. Because from what he knew, Metro would never fight without an advantage, much less in a fair match. Seeing Mirai too naive, Metro revealed his face. After confirming, Mirai no longer hesitated. On the outside, the FBI was also observing the broadcast. Mirai then took an offensive stance. As the clouds covered the sky, Mirai charged directly at Metro instead of firing an arrow. The surprise attack was effective as Metro's white arrow missed. However, Mirai could not drive his red arrow into Metro, because he already had one lodged in him from someone else. And besides, Metro had managed to block with his own white arrow. But Mirai spread his wings and pushed Metro backward. He locked his arms to prevent him from using arrows, then used his wings to cover Metro's face, making him panic. Trying to pull it off was impossible because, according to Barrett, wings are intangible. He panicked because if struck by the red arrow, he would be killed by Mikado whether Mirai wanted it or not, since earlier his uncle had already shot the red arrow into Mirai. He pulled out a knife and stabbed him. But the suit that his uncle designed still protected him well, though it hurt a little. In despair, he called his angel to help him switch hands to use the arrow. But before he could do so, Saki arrived and locked his other arm. The three of them then wrestled and finally succeeded in restraining Metro. The rest was up to Uncle Mikado. He slowly carried his gun toward Metro. Kanade at this moment also already knew what it felt like for a victim about to die. He begged Mirai to help him, then brought up Mirai's principle of not killing people to strike his compassion. But even if he was moved, his uncle's arrow was still stuck on him, and he could do nothing. With his last strength, his uncle begged Barrett to help him pull the trigger. And with each bullet fired, images of his wife and child appeared before him. He truly missed them, and his wish perhaps had been fulfilled when he protected his family before dying. And each anti-tank bullet flew straight into Kanade's fragile human body. His heart, liver, and entrails shattered into pieces. After the burst ended, Kanade's body was broken apart. Uncle Mikado also breathed his last. Done, Mirai and Saki took him away. While Kanade's bracelet and necklace flew to the one who had shot the red arrow into him, his angel also pulled his soul away. She did not understand why Soko's angel stopped her from helping Kanade. He said that surely Soko would not want Saki to be hurt. After speaking, both left. Mirai brought Mikado to the hospital. However, they could only help him live long enough to say goodbye to his family. Of course, in this condition he could not say anything anymore. His wife only had time to light him a cigarette before the heart monitor signaled flatline. Barrett appeared to take his soul away. She was proud for choosing him as candidate and blessed his family. Afterward, Barrett handed wings and arrows back to Saki so both could carry on his will. Everything now was only silence and the long beep of the heart monitor. Outside at the amusement park, the FBI arrived, and they were collecting Kanade's remains for investigation. While Murray still felt it was truly wrong, though this was seen as saving the world he had helped in killing. However, Saki said what Uncle Mikado did was not wrong. He was a hero who saved many and only wanted to choose a new god in peace. When calm again, both discussed about the one who had taken Kanade's rings, and it was none other than the kid who had fled earlier. Turns out he and Soko's angel had planned Kanade's downfall, but Soko was no longer alive to see it. When everything was over, he greeted the boy's angel and then flew away. To know how the boy could shoot the arrow into Kanade, we return to when he and his friend were checking out girls. While Kanade was watching his underlings practice archery, the boy had hidden from afar and shot straight into his heart when he was not paying attention. He was manipulated by the boy to be brought back to base, agreeing to hand over all assets after death and to fight to the end against Murray, even if he was disadvantaged. Back to the present, Murray was calculating again the number of candidates. Saki now had 3 sets of wings and arrows, still 4 groups left. The 4 pairs of wings and arrows, including Metro's white, now belonged to one of those 4. Now he only hoped they were not as brutal as Metro. When Saki brought food, she saw Murray sleeping beside Uncle Mikado's armor. The next day, Murray went out and asked Saki where Revel and Nas had gone. She answered both had gone out early, so she did not know. Both then sat and ate together. While Nas and Revel were heading to the meeting of angels, at present only 6 candidates remained. One angel spoke first. He said that this battle would not lead anywhere. His candidate only knew how to beautify herself and live a virtual life on the internet. She even wished that if someone else became the new god, they wouldn't take away her red arrow. There were still 800 days left until the end, so to prevent the candidates from doing nothing, all of them proposed that the angel Penema create games. Meanwhile, the boy from before began flying all over the city so that the candidates would know of his existence. Revel quickly returned to inform Mirai and Saki, and when the two of them watched the live broadcast, they saw that the boy had already revealed his face. He introduced himself as Yuito, a 6th grader. Mirai realized that the kid was walking beside Metro, deducing that it was highly likely he had inherited all of Kanade's wings and arrows, making Yuito an extremely dangerous candidate. The boy revealed the entire plan to kill Kanade. However, he himself did not want to become the new god. He talked about the new god game and the 13 candidates all across Japan, and his angel was Penema, of the lowest rank. Yuito explained the reason he was chosen. Basically, he lived a normal life, very normal at that. He had plenty of friends, loving parents, and a harmonious family. Then one time, when he saw his father's sleeping pills left on the table and tried to put them away, Penema appeared, mistakenly thinking the boy was attempting suicide, and chose him as a candidate immediately. At first, Yuito only used the wings and arrows for small purposes, like becoming stronger at soccer, until Metro appeared and threatened to kill the candidates. That was when the boy began planning to kill Metro. He also explained the functions of the white and red arrows, and Soko's angel had helped him deal with Kanade. Reporters wanted to ask about Metro's true identity, but the boy did not answer. His purpose in revealing his face was to ask all the people of the world to help him find the remaining 5 candidates. This caused all of them to become no different from wanted criminals. Yuito even said that after witnessing Metro's battle, he very much wanted Mirai to become the new god, so he prioritized him and urged that Murai's identity be uncovered first. Even though this seemed crazy, besides Yuito, the candidate obsessed with beauty also chose to side with Mirai, as long as he didn't take away her red arrow. Nevertheless, Murray clearly understood that even though the boy seemed to have told everything, he was still hiding one crucial fact: that he possessed the white arrow, At this moment, while Yuito was still praising Murai's greatness in fighting Metro, an FBI team approached to arrest him. However, with his wings, Yuito moved extremely fast and escaped in an instant. Feeling bored, he told them to hurry up and find the candidates before leaving. Now that the candidates were known, the government was sending people to search for suspicious individuals like someone not remarkable but suddenly having beautiful people pursue them would be under government surveillance. They wanted to use the candidates as an alternative to nuclear weapons. As for Saki and Murai, the two of them had only been able to enjoy a peaceful life for a few days, but now they were entangled in trouble again. Saki, still under the influence of the red arrow, suggested running away with Murai to live in a faraway place, isolated from the chaos. However, Murai refused. He would carry on Uncle Mukado's will. He would not run away, he would stand up and live his own life. He believed that people had not yet realized their identities, so they could just continue living as normal. But that was only what he believed, because when the second semester began and Murai and Saki returned to school, while Murai was alone, an FBI inspector approached him. Just after a few sentences, he knew that Murai was a candidate. Murai immediately became wary. However, the inspector had no ill intent. The government had ordered the arrest of candidates, but he was one of those who opposed it, and his colleague was also talking to Saki. Just then, a scream was heard. Saki, startled, had shot a red arrow into the female colleague. The inspector quickly asked her, "Do you still love me?" But the colleague only said she was already in love with Saki, thus confirming the candidate identities of both of them, because that female colleague was actually his fiancée. He then introduced himself as Hoshi, saying that he had come here to help the two of them, because currently not only the Japanese government but also other countries were targeting the candidates. Since they already had a colleague being held hostage, they decided to trust Hoshi. The two of them then left with him. He said that their colleague, Yumi, was the one who first discovered the identities of Murai and Saki. At present, within the organization, apart from him and her, no one else knew about the two of them yet. The reason he sought them out was because he needed Murai and Saki to find the other candidates, especially Murai, because the government believed that he possessed the white arrow. Now he was nothing short of an assassin, a living weapon. Assassination would be extremely easy for him, and he would be the one to change the balance of political power across the entire world. To prevent the world from falling into imbalance, Hoshi needed to control Murai. Not only other countries, but Hoshi also had to tell the truth. If Murai fell into the hands of the government, they would brainwash him and turn him into a biological weapon. Hearing that he would be forced to kill people, Murai was deeply tormented and swore that he would never do such a thing. Afterwards, Hoshi took the two of them to a safe apartment where they would not be monitored, so they could rest assured. Hoshi then received a call from his superior, reporting that they had not yet found anyone, and was ordered to attend a meeting. Before leaving, Hoshi gave them a specialized phone that they needed to use to communicate when necessary. After they left, the four of them sat down together to discuss whether they could trust them. Although Murai still had doubts, since Saki and the two angels had chosen to trust, he also agreed. Late that night, when Hoshi and Yumi returned from the meeting, Murai and Saki told them everything about the God Candidate game. After hearing it all, Hoshi was delighted that Murai had never used the white arrow, since he did not want to turn him into a weapon. He also informed them that one candidate had already been captured by the government. Yumi then suggested that Saki share a pair of wings with her. This would help them find other candidates and also allow her to see angels. Since the wings would disappear after 33 days anyway, it was no problem, so Saki shared them with Yumi. Upon receiving the wings, she was able to fly and see Naz and Revel. They then checked the information on the 12 people gathered by the FBI. The murderer was also counted since Metro had shared wings and arrows with him. The one who had been captured was the girl who loved beauty, Yuri. Two people still had not been revealed. Hoshi said that tomorrow they would investigate one of them, a preacher. However, when Murai confronted him and blocked his car, the man had no reaction and no angel could be seen, so he was excluded. The second suspect was Mizuki, a completely ordinary person, yet one day he suddenly had a very beautiful girlfriend. Without saying much, when Mizuki was talking with his girlfriend, Murai appeared, looking no different from a villain. As soon as Mizuki saw Murai reaching out his hand toward him, he desperately begged him not to kill him like Kanade. Seeing him talk too much, Murai shot a red arrow at him. Saki questioned him about whether he had wings, and it turned out he did not. The two of them assumed that Mizuki was only a second-rank candidate, so the last candidate must be a special rank. Using the information provided by Hoshi, they managed to identify the final candidate, a hikikomori boy. However, he also turned out to be only second rank. At that point, Mizuki finally confessed that he was not actually a candidate. Earlier he had been so panicked that he had lied. The boy was Naka. Although he only had a red arrow, he could still use it to kill people. His belief was to use the red arrow to grant those who wanted to end their lives a peaceful death. For example, his grandfather, lying on his bed in agony, suffering from the machines keeping him alive, Naka had helped him depart in peace. As for his father, who had been mentally broken after divorcing his wife when she cheated on him, Naka had given him a swift death with a red arrow. As for his mother and her lover, Naka had made them die in the most painful way. However, Murray said that what he had done was against the law. Hearing this, Naka believed him and said he would stop. But before stopping, Naka intended to kill his younger brother so that he would not have to suffer later. Murray stepped in to stop him, saying that death would be torment if Naka killed all of his loved ones and then ended his own life. However, Naka insisted that he would grant it as a special privilege. Hearing that, Mizuki immediately chimed in to support Murray. He said that even if Naka were to die, there would be people who grieved for him, and even if he had killed all his relatives, there would still be someone who cried for him, like his own friend, Kanade. He was someone who had a dream of studying abroad in England later. He was cold to everyone yet was adored by the girls. He disliked everyone including Mizuki. But during one time they were checking out girls together, he granted one of Mizuki's casual wishes. However, when Kanade passed away, everyone was very glad. Only Mizuki had cried for his friend. Thanks to Kanade, Mizuki even got the chance to strike up a conversation with pretty girls and now is dating. And even if Naka had no one at all, there would still be people grieving when the kid died. In the end, Naka was persuaded and accepted not to kill people recklessly anymore. However, when Revel needed him to go along to take part in the election to choose the new god, he refused. Murray said that time was running out. There was still one candidate hiding. They needed to gather all together to elect the new god. If they kept stalling, the government would find the candidates, brainwash them, and turn them into living weapons. Mizuki also did his best to persuade, and in the end Naka agreed to go along. But the kid still kept the intention of ending his life. Murray only had to keep him alive until the election, then he would vote for him. After that, Murray took everyone back to meet Yumi and Hoshi. The little brat Naka, upon seeing a beauty for the first time, curled himself up in a corner. They then gathered the information on the candidates. The kid Yuita had not appeared again since his speech. The girl Yuri was under special protection. Naka was already here, so now only one special rank candidate had yet to appear. They needed to find the last one, and then hold the election according to Yuito's plan. The next day Mirai and Saki appeared in public to lure Yuito out, and indeed not long after the boy appeared. Since he admired Mirai, whatever he said, the boy followed. The three then flew out into space to talk. Mirai revealed his face to gain credibility. Then Mirai spoke about cooperating to find the remaining candidate and holding the election together. Yuito also agreed to listen. Mirai gave him a phone for convenient contact. With Yuito's matter settled, next was Yuri. The five angels then went to her and told her about the election plan. If she agreed, they would help her escape. Outside, Mirai's group was already waiting. Then, through the surveillance cameras, Yuri collapsed. Hoshi, seeing that, immediately had people go in to check. And when they got close to Yuri, she suddenly sprang up and shot a red arrow at them. She ordered them to take her outside. Yuri was led out of the detention area. Hoshi played along and had people surround her. The guards led Yuri into a room and shot out all the cameras and lights. A while later, Yuri burst out of the window and ran into the forest. Hoshi mobilized all forces to surround her. However, when they caught her, it was only a disguised guard. The real Yuri had disguised herself as a guard and regrouped with Mirai's group. As promised, the boy Yuito gifted Yuri a pair of wings as a token of cooperation. They all then left, flying a distance before Yuito voluntarily separated from the group, since everyone seemed not to fully trust him, yet as he held the white arrow. The next day, Japan was in turmoil, as people gradually split into factions to vote for Mirai or other candidates as god. While in Mirai's group, most agreed he should be god and only one vote from the remaining candidate was left. However, Revel had said before, the one chosen as god must first have the desire to be god, and from the beginning Mirai had no wish to become one. To make Mirai understand the role of god better, Naka's angel explained that when one became god, they could make this selection game as if it had never happened. God could allow candidates to keep their arrows and wings, and God could manipulate all humanity if they wished. That was why the angel created this game, to select the one who could lead humanity in the right direction. When God was chosen, that person would leave together with the angel to live in heaven. At that moment, none of the candidates wanted to be God anymore. They did not want to leave this world, and Naka proposed himself. It seemed this matched the will of his angel. The boy thought he would change this world so that his younger brother could be happier. The opposing ideologies began to appear. Yuri and Naka agreed to grant the red arrow to those deemed worthy so they could have better lives. However, Mirai objected because this was too unbalanced. Humans needed to find their own happiness instead of relying on the arrow. Seeing that this argument would lead nowhere, Yuito suggested they hold a vote. They would listen to the one who gained the most votes. After that they started. Yuri and Saki chose Naka as god. So even if Yuito chose Mirai, the god would still be Naka. However, Naka's angel gave a warning. The guardian angel of the other candidate was the angel of destruction. So that person would choose an unpredictable candidate. And since it was destruction, chaos would be inevitable, and that person appeared. He was a professor at a university. One who pursued the existence of God. As for Mirai's group, after finishing their discussion on how to bring out the last candidate, he and the other candidates bid farewell to Hoshi. Then all five revealed themselves before the public. They encountered Menu, the angel of destruction. However, her candidate did not reveal his face. The professor was in his laboratory watching through cameras. Meanwhile, the government also planned to surround Mirai's group. If they could not capture them, then they would kill them all so that no country could possess a candidate. After a moment of silence, Menu spoke. Her candidate would appear once he received a reasonable answer. That was what they would do if they became God. But before they could answer, the government deployed combat helicopters. However, the soldiers received orders to cease fire from the Prime Minister. It turned out Professor Gaku had called the Prime Minister. He demanded nothing be done to harm Mirai's group. The fact they revealed themselves meant they did not want to harm anyone. If the Prime Minister killed them before Gaku received his answer, then he would make the Prime Minister regret it. As for Mirai's group, as planned beforehand, everyone dispersed, each staying in different places. Then drones appeared so they could speak. First was Naka. If he became God, he would create a world where everyone could end their lives as they wished, in the least painful way possible. Those who would agree with him were the lost and the elderly. Next was Yuri. She would create a place where people would not need to work. They would all be happy. Machines and artificial intelligence would work for them. But hardly anyone followed her. Next was Yuito. He would create a place where people could have fun with their friends. All three answers did not satisfy the professor, because they only addressed present social issues. He wanted a more groundbreaking answer. Saki still had no answer. Finally was Mirai. He said if he became God, then he would do nothing. After speaking, they all gathered again. Then the professor appeared before Mirai's group. It was Yonda. He then spoke his hypothesis. Metro did not believe in God. In the beginning, no one believed that God existed. But now it did. Yet it was not the God people imagined. It was an artificial God. Yonda then asked why Mirai would do nothing as God. Mirai believed humans must stand on their own feet. If he became God and changed the life of humanity that had been predestined by heaven, then it would be no different from dictatorship. Then the professor asked them one question. Who was born first, humanity or God? Yuri told the story of Adam and Eve, while Yonda spoke of the formation of Earth billions of years ago. After Earth was formed, humans began to evolve. The primitives hunted and gathered and started praying to heaven for more food, and mankind created God as the object of their prayers. And to this day, mankind performs surgeries and genetic engineering. All of those involve acts of blasphemy. They even fly into outer space. Thus, Yonda said it was truly hard to believe in the real existence of God in heaven. Yonda believed gods did not exist. But when he was chosen as a candidate and saw an angel, he began to doubt his own hypothesis, and he had to acknowledge that God truly existed. Yonda began to search and research. Eventually, he discovered a being that survived thanks to the worship of humans. It absorbed energy from those who worshipped God in order to live. However, when there were no longer many people worshipping, its energy gradually decreased and it slowly died. Not wanting to die, it deceived the angels and began this selection of a god. And what Yonda truly wanted to do was to end the era of humans worshipping gods. He believed that knowledge, science, and medicine would help humans overcome disasters without needing to pray. They did not need gods, and the angel of destruction, Menu, would do that. She would destroy heaven. At this moment, Saki spoke up again. She thought that they still needed gods to exist, not to appear flying around. It was like Santa Claus. Humans needed something to cling to. The important thing was that they must have hope. Gods did not need to exist. It was enough if they kept them in their hearts. On the other hand, Naka chose to side with the professor, to be certain of his decision. Mirai asked the professor that in the world, there were still people who believed in gods and saw that as hope and salvation. Then when they learned gods no longer existed, what would happen? He said they would no longer be able to confess and beg for forgiveness. With no support, they would lose hope and direction, leading to ending their own lives, since they could not keep up with the times. They had to accept that. Afterward, Mirai decided he would become God to prevent that from happening. Yonda was quite pleased that Mirai had ambition to become God. At that moment, Yuito had discovered several snipers, and before he could report it to Mirai, they opened fire, killing the boy. Afterward, many other assassins opened fire, attacking Mirai's group. He immediately ordered everyone to scatter. Mirai tried to retrieve Yuito's body, but Yonda was faster and took the boy away. While moving, he used a white arrow to end Yuito in order to take his wings and arrows. When returning home, just when everyone did not know what to do, Yonda called Mirai and informed him Yuito was dead, saying they would stop negotiations until the world gave him an answer about this, then hung up. Afterward, the professor told Naka there would come a time when he would have to kill him with a white arrow, and vice versa. He would hand him the white arrow and Naka would kill him, after saying that he shot a red arrow into the boy. While Mirai's group discussed whether Mirai should become God, Yuri still agreed if he let her keep the red arrow. Only Saki was still uncertain because she did not want him to leave. Putting this aside for now, they also needed to confirm who had sent the assassins to kill them. They suspected Hoshi or Yumi. However, Yumi was still under the influence of the red arrow, so it only left Hoshi. Afterward, Saki called and asked Yumi to investigate for her, and right after, Yumi shot a red arrow into Hoshi. In the following days, the people began rioting, while Mirai's group was brought by Hoshi to a shelter to take refuge because after all their identities had been exposed and the government still wanted to capture them. Now the world also knew the candidates could also be killed. Mirai said he would persuade Yonda again when the professor contacted them. He once said gods did not exist and those seeking salvation from gods would also die. But Yuri opposed. She thought he was a scientist and his job was only to prove his hypothesis correct. Ordinary people could not change his way of thinking. But Hoshi spoke up that he would help Mirai talk to Yonda, because he and the professor were once classmates. At that time, the professor was a rather quiet person. The first time he met Yonda was at a convenience store. He was very quick and precise in every detail. In addition, the professor was also a very kind person when he helped Hoshi when he almost fell down the stairs, and during the time he raced with Yonda in gym class. He saw him both running and reading something and even deliberately lost to him. When Hoshi asked, Yonda answered it was an irrational number. It would be stressful if he did what everyone else did. So Yonda filled his mind with numbers to avoid stress. Finding it interesting, Hoshi suggested becoming friends with Yonda. But he refused because in a week, it would be the holidays. He thought self-study was still fine, and he did not want to make friends. The only time that made Yonda happy was being able to research and create by himself. But because he was born human, he would do what he could to help this world. Later on, the professor became the youngest person to win 2 Nobel Prizes, one in literature and one in physics, and he was regarded by the people as a national treasure. However, Yonda did not want to stand out, because he feared offending others, and they could take advantage of that as an excuse to talk to him. From Yonda's side, he explained the reason he became a god candidate. At that time, he had willingly chosen to die, because he wanted to see where humans would go after death. But his desire to live was stronger, so he could not do it. That was why he became a candidate for the new god, because in that way he could find out what happens to humans after they die and where they go. He said there were currently 2 ways to stop candidates from becoming the new god. The first was to use a white arrow. He then pointed the white arrow at Naka, but he only did this to force Naka's angel, Ogaro, to reveal the information about who the special angel was. In the end, Ogaro agreed to speak on the condition that Yonda gave Naka 1 white arrow. After agreeing, Ogaro revealed that it was Mirai. Angel Nas was able to touch her partner, similar to how humans could not touch angels, but angels could not touch anything belonging to humans either. However, Nas had once unintentionally admitted it when she caught Mirai with her hand as he fell from a building. Nas was able to move human beings and objects, not much, but she was the only one who could do it. Nas herself did not seem to realize that it was her special ability, nor did she truly understand what an angel should do. Now Yonda understood the problem. The next step was to choose the place and the time. The professor then called the Prime Minister and had him gather Mirai's group at the National Stadium, a location that would draw attention and serve as the perfect place for everyone to witness a historical event. 33 days passed, and Yumi and Hoshi's red arrow effects wore off. However, Mirai would still shoot Hoshi, and then he would use the arrow on Yumi. This way they would remain safe, and Hoshi would act as the representative of the police side to speak with Yonda. As for the professor, after a month with no word from the Prime Minister, he went directly to the White House, shot an arrow at him, and ordered him to use the red arrow on high-ranking officials to make commands more convenient. Afterwards, the Prime Minister appeared on television and announced to Murai's group that the location for the discussion would be the National Stadium, scheduled for 1 p.m. on October 10th. Then came Yonda's speech. After hearing opinions from people all over the world, the majority agreed with him that they did not need a god. He even warned other nations to stop their assassinations, because if they kept doing so, the last surviving person would become God. He only wanted everything to be resolved through this discussion. After saying this, he ended the broadcast. Nas confirmed that what the professor had said was true. However, Yuri stood up to oppose going to meet Yonda. She did not want someone to become God just so she could keep the red arrow, but rather, if no one became God, they could not treat this selection as though it had never happened. If that were the case, then aside from Yonda, none of the other candidates would find happiness. Yuri believed the best way was to kill Yonda. Saki spoke up, saying that if they did so, they would be no different from Kanaid. But the next day, while waiting for the event, Yonda and Naka carried out some experiment that ended up killing many people. At present, the number of people who believed in God was decreasing. Regardless, in the upcoming debate, Murai very likely could become God, and he had no intention of giving up. Hearing this, Saki wanted to talk to him privately. Meanwhile, Mizuki told his girlfriend about the selection, and she was very worried because she did not know if, once the world changed, she would still be able to see him again. Mizuki reassured her, saying that no matter who became God, Yonda would still support them. At that moment, a shooting star passed by, so the two of them made a wish together. As for Murai and Saki, they flew to a shrine, the place where he first gained his wings. 6 months had passed, and so many things had changed, both within themselves and in the world. Finally, Saki confessed her feelings. She loved Murai. In response, he only said thank you. He was happy that the two of them had survived up until now. Not long after, the day of the debate arrived. Reporters were waiting outside, while Yonda and Naka stood inside, surrounded by drones flying around everywhere to live stream the event. Not long after, Murai's group also arrived, with Hoshi and Yumi following as well. Yonda still remembered Hoshi because he was the only one who had ever spoken to him. Hoshi began first, saying that back in high school Yonda always avoided interacting with others, but he was still kind to them because he did not want to make them sad. He could not understand why someone like that would abandon those who needed God. Yonda replied that Hoshi had misunderstood something. He was not kind to everyone. He merely tried to interact with them as little as possible, to avoid being involved with them. Hoshi then asked why now he chose to involve himself with everyone in the world. Yonda said that he had wished many times that he had never won the Nobel Prize, because ever since then all kinds of people had come to him, and as a result he fell into depression to the point of wanting to end his life. But humans are mysterious beings. When they discard one thing, they gain another. By abandoning human relationships, Yonda had overcome his fear of people. Do not fear anyone, do not let others control you. The future of mankind had already been determined from the start. Humans should consider what to do with that data. They will be happy if we make it happen before death. Today, he stood here to ensure that no god candidate would become a false god, and to do that he would kill the 3 people before him. The surest way to prevent a being from being born is that all god candidates must die. Therefore, 3 of the 5 candidates must die right now, and the remaining 2 must use the white arrows to kill each other. It seemed that Yonda's decision had already been taken into Murai's calculations. 30 minutes earlier, Murai had told everyone that no matter who claimed they could be a false god, they were not doing this for those who needed God. They had to think about the happiness of the god candidates. If they could not persuade Yonda to choose one person to become the new god, then they would kill him. After that, everyone discussed what the future of mankind would be like, and it seemed that Yonda's angel had lied to him about the earth being destroyed after 999 days of the selection if no new god was chosen. When the discussion time ended, Yonda stepped forward and asked Murai if he really wanted to become the new god. Seeing the determined look on Murai's face, he wanted to speak to him privately. Hoshi also asked permission to listen, saying he would only listen and not speak. Then the others left, and in the stadium only 3 people remained. Yonda began with the question, did Murai still want to become God? Murai still chose yes. No one would want to end their life just because he wanted to become God, but if he did not, some people would lose direction and be unable to continue living. Murai's goal was still to let as many people as possible find happiness. Yonda countered that in the end, happiness was only a kind of contrast, obtained by seeing and comparing others not being happy. Murai agreed with that. But he added that seeking happiness by making others happy was not a bad thing. As long as he was alive, he would not give up seeking happiness as a human being. However, Murray's desire was not well received by the public, partly because they feared he was too young to be God. After that, Yonda brought up the next issue. Murray had once said that he did not want anyone to die anymore. Yet by becoming the new god, someone would have to die. Murray would have to kill him, because he did not agree to let Murray become god. And Murray had already drawn his white arrow and aimed it at Yonda. Meanwhile, Saki's group had been held back by Naka until the negotiation was over. Murray did not hesitate to shoot the white arrow at Yonda. Yonda dodged, somewhat surprised. Murray then questioned the professor. He had once said that humanity's future was above all else, but humanity would face extinction, the cause being the excessive advancement of science and technology. So why not turn towards science to avoid extinction? Yonda answered briefly, because mankind's fate had already been determined. There was nothing in the future. Every predetermined moment coexisted together. And Murray believed that only God could have the exact answer, because God had seen both the beginning and the end of humanity. If the ideal future Yonda thought of was for the sake of the world, for humanity, for the future, then he was doing it all alone. Humans, after all, always live only for themselves. Even Yonda, how could he get closer to the goal? The ultimate happiness is what makes people truly happy. Ending this matter with the least casualties is Murray's final goal. The future is the result of the present, not something that has been predetermined. Yonda spoke up to cut in, because everything had ended. Naka had captured Saki as a hostage. He demanded Murray give up becoming god if he did not want Saki to die. He gave Murray 30 seconds to think. In the end, Murray was forced to give up to ensure Saki's safety. Yonda appeared very disappointed. Just a few seconds ago he was boasting about saving millions of people. But now for one girl he abandoned all those lives. Murray did not refute, but instead affirmed that Saki's life was more important than the millions of lives out there. Murray believed that friendship, love, or comradeship were all lies. There was a time he used to think like that, something Yonda would never understand. Because he had never opened his heart to anyone. Those who had experienced would not say things like love is deceit. Murray believed he had done nothing wrong. Loving Saki was the right decision. His declaration just now reignited Yonda's interest. Now he told him to make a choice. Either he or Saki would die. He originally would not let him live once he gave up on becoming the new god. The 30-second countdown began. At the very moment Murray was about to lower his arrow, Nas spoke up. If he died, then he would never find his own happiness. She reminded him of the promise the two made when they first met. Murray would go seek his own happiness and find it on behalf of his departed family. In the final 5 seconds, the image of Saki resurfaced in his mind, and in the end he still chose Saki. So he allowed himself to be shot by Yonda's white arrow, and just when it was only a few centimeters away, Nas rushed forward to pull him aside. But halfway through flight she suddenly halted and dropped Murray. Nas had been punished and demoted for daring to interfere with a candidate's decision. Now Murray could only use the red arrow or wings. Murray chose to keep the red arrow, then had the white arrow and wings taken back. On Saki's side, she did not want Murray to die, so she wanted to trade her life for his, but at the same time she did not want to die because she still wanted to seek her own happiness. Yumi also struck at Naka's psychology. The boy had killed many people, but they were all people who wanted to die, and he had never killed anyone who had the will to live. And even though struck by the red arrow, the boy still had his own will. Naka valued everyone's life more than his own, so killing someone who wanted to live was against his will. These words struck deeply into Naka's mind. As for Nas, though demoted, she still urged Murray not to die here. However, he feared seeing Saki die more. That would make him unhappy. He then told Hoshi to drop him down for Yonda to kill him. Yonda then shot the white arrow at him. Before dying, he apologized to his parents and to Saki. At that very moment Saki rushed in to save him. Everyone returned together with Naka. The boy apologized to the professor because he could not allow others to kill each other. And the professor's way of ensuring no one would become the new god was to have them kill one another. It seemed the professor had foreseen this, so he wanted to retrieve the white arrow. Naka hesitated again. Just then Yuri from behind took the white arrow from Naka and shot at Yonda, thinking he would die, but no, Nas saved his life once more. Everyone was shocked and thought she would be demoted again. However, Nas was instead promoted back, because it was not her own candidate, so it was not considered breaking the rules. The reason Nas explained was that Murray would not want anyone else to die anymore. She handed him back the white arrow and wings, but he refused. Yet again another angel saved Yonda from death's door. He asked why Naka chose betrayal. The boy still thought what he did was right. He said it was just a thought and an idea. Their lives must be decided by themselves, and every decision they made would set the value of their lives. And he did not want to decide anyone's death for the sake of his selfish desire. The professor said that he was not any genius, he was just a fool. The so-called genius people called him was only the result of his achievements. He was truly foolish to think anyone could accomplish something, and then to criticize them while they were striving to achieve it. Yuri said that he was a hypocrite. However, Naka or the people did not see him as a fool. He had created many things and received many Nobel Prizes, both big and small. They shouted the two words genius to call Yonda. The professor admitted that Hoshi was right. Because he avoided interacting with society, he could not understand the feelings of others. No friends, no love. A fool and a coward. He considered angels as devils. Mooney kept whispering in his ear that he could expose the truth about this selection and find out the truth. But it seemed not so. He only wanted humanity to know that God does not exist. After saying that, he left. However, Murray spoke up to advise him. Humans can find happiness through others. He said he did it for himself, but in reality it was for humanity. After hearing that the professor intended to end his life so that Murray would become the new god, he had tried to reach the truth by killing all the candidates. He was too tired. At that moment, Naka spoke up saying that he would become God in order to do everything to tell him the truth. Everyone had already agreed that the boy would become the new god before coming here. However, God cannot communicate with humans, and they will not return here ever again. But Naka still firmly decided to become the new god. He then stepped up, and with the consent of the candidates, Naka officially became the new god. He left with the angels and space seemed to stop. Naka would erase all memories of the game across the world except for the candidates. After finishing, Naka merged into the former god and became the new god, then left. Everything went well and everyone returned together. Perhaps that was so. While in heaven, Naka was feeling the being that the professor had mentioned inside himself. The angels said it would take quite a long time for the two to merge into one. He then talked with the former god inside him. He asked the question of whether God came first or humans came first. However, the former god said that it was God who created humans, and something had created God first before God created humans. Naka needed to find the truth to report back to the professor. Meanwhile, on Earth, life was still continuing to revolve. Yuri had returned to become the professor's assistant, and he was still researching the red arrow that Naka had left behind. While Murai and Saki had planned to get married in the future and open a flower shop, even though they had not dated yet. Many years later, Murray introduced himself to Saki's parents. The two began living together. Their life was indeed happy. Then many years later, the two married each other. Naka was still searching for the answer while also observing the lives of the former candidates. The dream of opening a flower shop of Murray and his wife had come true. One day in the heavenly realm was equal to 6 years in the earthly realm. Naka looked in on the professor. He was still researching the red arrow. Outside there was Yuri's loud voice. He had a parcel. Opening it was a flower sent by Murray. Yuri did not expect that he also had a friend. The professor replied that it was not a friend but a comrade. Though in his heart he was resentful that Murray wasted his time, but his mouth still smiled. The lives of others also gradually improved. Hoshi was promoted to director. Naka's younger brother had a job at a farm. Everyone's lives were still happy. However, when Naka sought out those who did not want to live, they were countless, which greatly shocked him. Even without God, humans still wanted to die. Naka began to feel shaken and doubt his ideals. Many people lived too high to be able to look down at the miserable. While the miserable struggled to survive, some abused power, some harmed others to death. And then there were millions begging to God. Naka was shaken, asking what the previous God had done. The former God replied that he only watched. The responsibility of God was to create life on Earth. Life gradually multiplied without him having to intervene. So he did nothing. Naka should just let everything keep turning. However, Naka doubted letting humans live and die on their own. He began to think, if he died it could harm heaven. But the red arrow he had given to the professor disappeared. That would make the professor know that God had died. And when his guardian angel was not paying attention, Naka used the white arrow to stab himself. The angels disappeared one by one when there was no longer a God. Naz congratulated Mooney for successfully destroying heaven, and she too disappeared. In the earthly realm, the red arrow vanished, followed after by the children. Then gradually the adults around were only fluttering clothes. Knowing this was Naka's decision, Murray said goodbye to Saki. He was very happy to die together with her. While the professor was still bewildered, he realized that his hypothesis was wrong. If God could erase all life, angels, heaven, even living beings as weapons of human destruction, then the purpose of God was to annihilate all life. With those words, he too disappeared. The Earth began returning to the primitive age when there were no more humans. Abandoning that planet, life could be destroyed and the rest would not be born there. The anime ends here. Goodbye.